Planning applications for fracking should be taken out of local hands and decided at a national level. Now, the Communities and Local Government Committee says it wants to hear from views from all sides of the debate, but some say local authorities are already being sidelined in the decision-making process, as Liz Roberts reports.
Fracking. It's controversial and not particularly popular among communities that face having sites in their backyard.
No fracking way! No fracking way!
Like these people who are fighting plans by gas giant INEOS for an exploratory drilling site here at Marsh Lane in North Derbyshire. But never fear, because there are guidelines, procedures, checks and balances in place to make sure their voices don't go unheard. Now, this might not look very exciting, and for a lot of people it's not. It's a council planning meeting, but it's here where the people that we vote for, our representatives, make decisions that directly affect our lives. This is local government democracy in action. Or so you'd think. Problem is, Derbyshire County Council failed to meet the statutory 13-week deadline, so it's had the decision taken out of its hands after INEOS appealed to the government.
We're making a considered view today, but we're not actually determining the planning application. That matter is now in the hands of the inspector, because INEOS decided that they weren't prepared to allow any more time for the council to assemble its evidence and come to a conclusion, and they made an appeal to the Secretary of State just before Christmas.
But it hasn't been cheap.
We've probably accrued so far about £100,000 worth of costs.
It's money down the drain. It's our money that INEOS are using to play these games with democracy.
And it's not just here in Marsh Lane where local people feel democracy is eroding. Another application in Hart Hill, less than 6 miles that way, is also going straight to the Planning Inspectorate after Rotherham Borough Council also failed to meet its decision deadline.
We gave the local councils ample time to review these applications, and we're in a situation now where applications are being recommended for approval by technically competent and professionally governed planning officers, but are being turned down by local council elected representatives sitting on planning committees at great cost. Perhaps these decisions need to be taken at a higher level for such a nationally important resource.
Weighing up local objections against national need is something MPs will now be taking a closer look at.
There is an argument which says because we need gas on a national scale, these decisions should be taken at a national level as matters of national infrastructure. On the other hand, the government did produce a report last year which talked about the security of our gas supply and said basically they thought our gas supply was secure.
Whichever side you're on, one voice the government is listening to is the accountants. The company Third Energy has delayed fracking at Kirby Misperton in North Yorkshire, not because of planning issues, but because the Secretary of State wants to check its finances are in order. While protesters and gas companies continue to make their cases, what local people so far have shown is that attempts to silence them will only make them shout louder.
The people got the power. INEOS, can you hear us? INEOS, can you hear us?
That was Liz Roberts reporting there. Rachel Maskell, who should have the final say on fracking applications? Should it be local planners or should it be a government minister?
It absolutely should be the local community, because you're not just looking at a supply of energy, and the evidence isn't there yet to say that this is a cost-effective source of energy, but also you're talking about the landscape, about tourism, about community, and therefore the local community should have the final say.
Lee Rowley, you have said you're opposed to fracking taking place in your own constituency, but you say you're not opposed to fracking taking place in general. Is that a not in your backyard kind of attitude?
Well, I believe in localism, so I believe local communities should be allowed to decide. We've decided in Marsh Lane, I'm the MP for Bramley Moor Lane, which is what was on the piece a moment ago. I've knocked on the doors of the houses of where your reporter was standing outside. I've heard all of the issues and all of the concerns and all the worries from residents in Marsh Lane and Eckington. I know that we don't want fracking near our area. What other communities want to do is for them to decide. But Rachel is absolutely right. The decision needs to be made by local communities. I'm glad Derbyshire County Council have made this decision this week.
OK, but the government says it supports shale gas as a possible energy source. I mean, if it isn't going to take place in your part of the world, where is it going to take place? I mean, because nobody wants it, do they?
Well,
in their communities.
I'm on record as not thinking fracking is the answer to the UK's future supplies with regards to energy. So you'd have to ask the government that. The government is ultimately doing the right thing in trying to stimulate a debate, trying to offer options, trying to provide a range of ways in which energy can be supplied. I just happen to disagree with the government that fracking should be part of that mix. It's not the right way for our country to go.
So when the Conservatives go into the next general election saying that shale gas should be a possible energy source, will you try to convince Theresa May and the ministers that they're wrong?
Well, sometimes politics means that you disagree on certain policies. I happen to disagree with the government on this policy, on fracking. I support the government on most other policies. Ultimately, that's about being grown up. That's about accepting that sometimes you disagree. I want to make sure that I am representing my community in the best way possible, and they have said clearly they don't want fracking in Marsh Lane, Eckington or anywhere in North East Derbyshire.
Rachel Maskell, you've called on fracking protesters to take direct action if necessary. Does that mean even if they break the law, you would support them?
Look, Kirby Musperton up in North Yorkshire, we've seen environmental protectors out standing up for their environment, and I think it's absolutely right that they should have their voices heard. Because,
even if they break the law?
Well, the thing is, they don't want to break the law. What they want to ensure is that their environment is safeguarded against this drilling. And it's not just one well, one drill. You're talking about a whole landscape being taken away by an external body that is there to make profit out of the land on the back of, you know, the local community. And the local community certainly want to say, actually, this is about our landscape, it's about our beautiful environmental heritage, which they have taken, and they're saying no. So why should these big companies have all the power to do whatever they want over the landscape? And what people are saying is enough. This land belongs to more than the big business. It belongs to the people, and we've got to make sure their voice is heard.
So I mean, people might be getting their energy bills now through the post. It's going to be expensive. We were having a cold winter. You know, where is our next cheap source of energy going to come from?
Well, we're looking to our natural environment as being a major supply of future energy sources. They're absolutely right that we look at microgeneration, we look at community energy, that we take away some of the power from these big companies and give it back into communities so everybody gains in the future. But also, we make sure that it's clean for our environment moving forward.